that leads us into the movie I recommended, Cody. Another very ridiculous, over-the-top comedy. One of my favorites. It is in my favorite movies of all time list. I'm not exactly sure where it ranks, but it is one of those movies where it's like, oh man, do you have any like good like comedic movies that like no one's really seen? I'm like, oh, you gotta check out Black Dynamite. So, Black Dynamite is kind of. I'll summarize it really quick, and then we can get into what we thought of it. But it's a revenge story told from the style of blaxploitation movies of the 70s, starring a man literally first name Black, last name Dynamite, as he tries to avenge the death of his brother and rid the community of dope. So, what did you think of Black Dynamite?
It was ridiculous. It was very fitting, the movies we picked, because they're both very over the top.
Yeah.
I loved that, it's like it really played up the campiness and stuff to the next level, because like they had these like subtle fourth wall breaks kind of thing that I really love. Like this one time, Black Dynamite like stands up real quick and the boom's still in the shot. It's just bobbing up and down.
I love things like that.
There's like random cuts, like the one thug in the bar, like I think the friend like slaps him and then he's like, hey, and then it like cuts and I think it's a different guy.
Yeah, like the stunt person or something like that.
Yeah. And then there was another one where they're in that one later sequence and the guy's like talking about like, oh, I'm gonna retire after this, I'm gonna see my wife and kids, settle down, and then he gets hit with the spear, and then Black Dynamite goes to be like, who saw that coming? I mean, where'd that come from?
That whole movie is full of like, that's what I really love about it, is that it's like, I think parody movies nowadays, like, I mean, obviously I'm a fan of like the original like scary movies and all that, but I think that today especially we don't really see it as much lately with like parodies. They're just not really as popular. I think mainly due to the whole movie craze, like epic movie, disaster movie, and all that, where I think people got locked into believing that parody had to be like this one way to do it, and that the only way to do it was to constantly reference other movies specifically. But what I really love about this movie is that it just takes this whole genre of the blaxploitation film, and I think that the filmmakers really kind of sat down and they said, well, okay, what were like what are some cliches that we can like really make fun of both overtly and subtly, like you said, like the fourth wall breaks, because like those movies were just not really well made or well put together. But the writing too is like, I love it so much. Like you hinted on it a little bit with like the I'm going to retire, I'm going to go do this and that, and then he gets killed immediately. But the one that I always, like any friends of mine who've seen it, whenever we're watching a movie and there's a scene where there's a little too much exposition, we'll just look at each other and go, Jimmy, I am 18-year-old Black Dynamite, and you are my 16-year-old kid brother. Like, it's so well written, and it makes fun of not even, and that's not even necessarily a trope with blaxploitation movies. It's like just a trope with movies in general. But it's just so, I love the way it makes fun of kind of everything so masterfully. And like, I mean, like you said, the more overt stuff, like the boom being in the shot, or like the really bad jump cuts, or the reusing the same stock footage of like the same car going over a cliff over and over again. It's just it's stupid, but it's so smart in how stupid it is. It's amazing.
Oh, like that one scene where it's after he rids the streets of Smack, and they go to the jump rope, and the kids are like, hey, my mommy says our daddy's name is Black Dynamite.
It's a common name, kids. Oh my god, I love it. Yeah. And even in the subtle things too, where it's like his backstory is like constantly changing too, where it's like early on he's like, you promised your mother that you wouldn't let you wouldn't let your younger brother get killed by drugs, and then like later in the movie, in that I think that same scene that you're referencing, the one woman's like, the drugs are everywhere, Black Dynamite. They even got in the orphanage, and Black Dynamite's like, yeah, I was an orphan once. I know he said it. I was like, wait, but you had a mom and dad. It's just, oh my god, it's so it's so great. If nothing else, that movie is one of the most quotable comedies I've ever watched. Like I'm here to tell you that if I catch any of you selling drugs to the community, there's going to be hell to pay. But Black Dynamite, I sell drugs to the community. Oh my god, it's so good.
It's so good.
Do you have like a favorite? Because I always reference as like my favorite overall scene is the kung fu fight on from that point where he's like, I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna go home to my kids, up until when they fly away in the helicopter. That's my favorite sequence. I laugh the hardest at that whole point in the movie. But do you have like a favorite a scene overall? I mean, I guess we can use that as our cue to get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen Black Dynamite, I don't think it's free on any streaming platforms. I own a DVD of it, but I think you can get it on Prime for relatively cheap. Google Play, Vudu, all that. So yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say you can watch it free on Crackle with ads, which is what I did.
Gotcha.
I will say I wish, I'm definitely gonna buy it. Not because the ads kind of like drag it out, because there were a lot of ads. That's the problem with doing that stuff. But if you want to kind of experience it, just that's a good way to get the taste of it. But oh god, I think just so much of it blends together of just like hilarious. Creamed corn, I think too, where he's just like he's like describing, like he's talking about it in the barber shop. Yeah. And then they have like that chase sequence and he's just like throwing things down. It's so silly. Yeah. And then how he the idea of the helicopter sequence where he's like, you take over kind of thing. And
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And then it doesn't matter because
he just gets blown.
The Secret Service agent has like a rocket launcher. And he's like, cream corn, no!
Oh my god, it's so ambitious too, in its ridiculousness. So yeah, it's like there's no starting that movie off. I wasn't expecting us to go literally all the way to the top with the whole scheme, but it's like everything I said about Bubba Hotep, where it's like it pays off so nicely. Like every little thing in that movie just pays off so well in the best possible way. It's oh my god, I love it so much. And grossly overlooked, I feel like. I wish more people knew about this movie. So hopefully this podcast brings some new viewership to it. But yeah,
totally. Both very good, over the top comedies. I found myself I was like, I want to watch it again, kind of thing. Just there were, oh my god, it's so good because it really does it just takes it to the extreme. Yeah. In so many ways. And then the one white actor in it, the one who plays the doctor. Yeah. He's just like, but Black Dynamite. It sounds like he's just for the reading love his lines of God.
Off. You can just clearly see the cue cards. Oh. Yeah. I had this great thing that one thing that I did was I had a bunch. I used to do movie nights back when we were in college, and I would do this thing where I would, if it was a movie like this that really is really kind of over the top in the best possible way, I would say, okay guys, we're gonna watch this thing called Black Dynamite, and I don't want you to look up anything about it. Just know that it's a comedy and it's very ridiculous, and and we're gonna treat this as a litmus test, where if you are able to watch this movie and you don't laugh a single time, then that is undeniable proof that you have no soul. and and some of my friends were like, okay, I'm taking that as a personal challenge. They would sit down, and within minutes, like people were kind of giggling a little bit, but when we get to that first scene with Black Dynamite, and they're like, oh man, Black Dynamite, that was the best sex I've ever had, and he goes, shh, honey, you're gonna wake up the rest of the bitches. Like, everybody was in stitches. It's just like I keep on saying every single line of that movie is so quotable. Everything is so well written, so well delivered. The way it's edited, even though it's like purposely done so poorly in so many scenes, it all complements all of its individual elements so well, and it's just a great experience. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. That's like, I need more movies like that.
Yeah.
So I definitely, like, after watching that, I was like, I've found a new subgenre that I need to research some more.
I think that there was like I don't remember if the anime, if this was based off of the anime. I know there's a Black Dynamite anime, but I don't know if the anime was based off the movie, or if the movie was based. I don't know which came first. So I know there is more Black Dynamite content out there. I've seen some of the anime, and it didn't look as funny as the movie, but I mean, that's out there too if people want to find it. So although I'm not sure how you would, maybe like Crunchyroll or something like that, but yeah, just Black Dynamite is just a go-to comedy. I have yet to show it to a person who didn't think it was hilarious. So I hope that's and I mean, I'm really glad to hear that you enjoyed it, because it is kind of like, I know that you of all people really appreciate a good comedy, but it is kind of risky because it is a little bit of an out there kind of, not nearly as out there as what you recommended me, but they both they make a great double feature, I must say, because I did watch them both back to back.
For sure, because it's like I was really like, there was a moment when I was nearing the end of Black Dynamite where it just kind of clicked in my head, and I was like, maybe I should have considered Kung Fury.
That's another great one, but I think it's not free on YouTube, or do you have to pay to watch
Probably.
that? Okay.
Yeah, I know. I know they wanted to do like a full length one, because obviously Kung Fury is just like a half an hour or whatever.
Right.
I think, but I think they wanted to do like a full length one, and I'm not sure if that ever dropped or not. But
I don't think so, because I remember being like really big into that when they first released it. So I mean, I hope they are making a full length one, because I mean, I do see what you mean. It has a very sort of similar vibe of like relishing in like the stereotypes of the time, and like using that to its full like taking it to its full advantage. But yeah.
And so a lot of Kung Fu.
Fury, yeah, a lot of Kung Fu, exactly. If you can see, I think Kung Fury. Actually, no, yeah, it's on Netflix, because I remember scrolling through Netflix and seeing it on there at some point. I don't know if it's still on there, but I do know for sure it was on there at some point. So check out Netflix if you haven't seen Kung Fury yet. It's definitely worth it. And yeah, I mean, check out Bubba Hotep if you want some weird horror Western elements, and check out Black Dynamite.
Yeah,
if you just cannot get enough of blaxploitation films.
Yeah, and the director of Bubba Hotep, I meant to bring this up earlier, but the Don Cascarelli
or something, yeah,
Cascarelli, yeah. He also directed the adaptation of one of my favorite books, John Dies at the End.
Oh yeah,
which is another
right. You
another
mentioned that.
Over the top horror comedy, and it's very fitting that the guy who did Bubba Hotep did that. So, right. And I know that one floats along those like free things too.
Yeah,
it's a very silly, out there.
I think it's on
low
Netflix.
Budget horror. Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
that's how I found it like years ago. And it's one of those movies where I'm like, it's never gonna not be on one of those streaming platforms.
Right. That's also another really out. I've been meaning to give that another watch, because I did, like you said, I saw it on Netflix a few years ago, and I remember enjoying it, but I wasn't like 100% into like the weirdness of it, if that makes sense. Like, I think movies like Bubba Hotep and John Dies at the End, to an extent Black Dynamite, I think you kind of have to be in a certain mindset to watch. Like, they're just sometimes they're just movies where you kind of have to like you had mentioned earlier, shut off like the overly analytical part of your brain and just kind of let everything happen. And I don't think that I was necessarily in the correct mood to see John Dies at the end, but I do remember liking it, so I'll have to check that out again. Maybe that can be another recommendation if we have you on again sometime in the near future. We could dive into that.
Definitely. I definitely have plenty of movies I'd love to, do. Especially because I was very tempted to make this a so bad it's good kind of thing. Because it's like, you've got like your Rooms and your Thanksgivings and your Birdemics and what was have you ever seen? Sorry, I don't know if I'm breaking form.
No, it's fine.
Okay, but Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's just like Stephen King's only directing, the only time he actually directed one of his movies, and it's just.
Did he direct like that weird remake of The Shining as well, or did he just like?
I think he just funded it.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of thing. Yeah, but what's weird is like with that, it's like the movie was good. Like I don't know why he needed to fund that, but I know at least with movies, at least as movies go, I'm pretty sure that's the only one he directed.
Okay.
And it's just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like why he picked like a short story? Like when he has like these like 1,000-page novels, but he picks like this like 20-some page short story, and oh my god, it's so ridiculous. Like I think I remember listening to the How Did This Get Made? Podcast episode on it. And I'm just like, how did this get made?
There was a clip, I don't remember if it was on like a DVD or something for it, but there is footage of him like introing the movie or something, and he jokes about how like something always goes wrong with his adaptations, or the filmmakers get something wrong about it, and he was like, I just wanted to see a Stephen King story done right. Like, I mean, he's notorious for being like, oh yeah, no, I like all my adaptations and all that, but he was kind of poking fun at it a little bit, because I think he's one of those writers, especially where it's kind of hard to adapt him, because a lot of his books are like what's in people's heads, and that doesn't really translate that well to the screen. But I think that he did pick a good story to make like his directorial debut with, because it is so ridiculous that like only the person who thought up that ridiculousness could really handle it from taking it from page to screen, I think.
Totally. Just the turkey carver coming alive and trying to attack them.
This ATM called me an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah.
I'm
so
glad that was his cameo.
Yeah. I think that there should be. I'm sure that exists somewhere, but his cameos in his movies, I think, are always in a weird way the most special part. He always picks like very strange and interesting roles to cameo as.